Alright, put your pencils down, guys. You won't learn anything if you copy off me. Test is tomorrow. This is a review. This is part 1 of the review. The next video will be part 2. For a complete review, make sure that you can do every problem on both parts without the video. Make sure you can do every problem on both parts by yourself. Okay, let's get started. A parabola has vertex -2, 4. It opens left. Given that -6, 12 lies on the parabola, what is the equation of the parabola? Alright, these two facts right here tell us a lot. First of all, the fact that it opens to the left. We always have to decide when we're thinking about a parabola which of the two models we're going to use. Will we use the one that's x minus h squared is equal to 4p times y minus k not squared? Alright, or will we use the one that's y minus k squared is equal to 4p times x minus h? Alright, in other words, are we doing x squared or y squared? Well, we have learned that we'll do x squared when we are dealing with either up or down. And it'll be the y squared when it's either left or right. And so, the fact that we're going left means we're going to use the y squared version. Okay, so that's the point of that. Okay, so we're going to use the y squared version. Also, we know that this number right here is going to wind up being negative in the end. So watch out for that. Just whatever else you do, just make sure that this number turns out to be a negative number. Anyway, what else? The vertex here should show up here. It's the h, this is the h, and this is the k. Alright, make sure that the x value winds up in the x part of the equation, and the y value winds up with the y. And you can see it's kind of the opposite. So this positive 4 is going to wind up with the y. So this is going to be like y minus 4 squared is equal to 4p. Okay, and this x value is going to wind up with the x. See how it's negative? And that's going to wind up as plus 2. Okay, so just from these two pieces of information we get all this. Alright, so if you did this so far, you have half credit. How about that? But you want full credit. So for full credit we need to find out what that p value is. And so that is where we're going to have to use the extra piece of information they gave us, the -612. Now when they give us a random point on the line or circle or parabola, whatever it is, they are giving us an x value and a y value. So I'm just going to recopy this because I'm going to save this for the answer. Okay, so just sort of recopying this. Okay, I've got y minus 4 squared is equal to 4p times x plus 2. So what I'm attempting to do right now is I'm finding p. So find p. That's what's happening. So to find p, I'm going to take this x and y and plug them in here and here. So the y value is 12. So this is going to become 12 minus 4 squared equals 4p. The x value is -6, so -6 plus 2. Notice I have everything except for p, so I should be able to solve for p. Okay, 12 minus 4, that's 8, so I got 8 squared is equal to 4p times -4. Okay, -6 plus 2. Alright, so that's 64. 4 times -4 is -16. Okay, if I want to get p by itself, I will divide both sides by -16. Okay, so that gives us p is equal to negative 4. So we know what p is now. So we can take this and substitute it back in over here. So that's going to give us y minus 4 squared is equal to 4 times negative 4 times x plus 2. So that gives us our final answer of y minus 4 squared is equal to negative 16 times x plus 2. Alright, so this would be the equation of the parabola that has this as the vertex, opens left, okay, see the negative just like we thought, and the y squared, so that's left, and it does contain this point. Alright, we just proved it because we plugged it in. That's it for number 1. Okay, go back and do that problem by yourself since you didn't copy me. Of course not. Why would you do that? Okay. Now we're going to solve this system algebraically, so there's no graphing or anything like that. There are two ways of solving a system algebraically. Sometimes we use elimination. That's the one where we set them equal to each other and try to cancel out one of the variables. And then there's substitution, where you get one variable by itself and then plug that back in. This one, it would be, I'm not seeing any of the variables that are exactly the same, so I could force it to happen, but it's all set up for substitution. It's already got the y by itself and everything, so let's go ahead and just take this and do substitution. So if we do that, then we're going to have y squared, but instead of y squared, it's going to become this stuff squared. So I'm going to have 1/2 x minus 1 squared minus 6 equals x. Okay, I just recopied the top equation with the substitution. I guess I didn't really need 2 arrows. Anyway, so we just have to work this out. And now this fraction might be making you nervous, but eventually we'll get rid of the fraction, so don't be scared. Of course, when you're squaring a binomial, we have to look at it as multiplying it by itself. You can't just square these two things separately. This doesn't work out. So I have this. So I'm going to have to do that double distributive property thing that we do. Alright, so 1/2 times 1/2 is 1/4. See if I can get a little space for myself. So 1/2 times 1/2 is 1/4. X times x is x squared. So I'll have 1/4 x squared. Now 1/2 x times negative 1 is negative 1/2 x. And again, negative 1 times 1/2 x is negative 1/2 x. Negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. And then I still have my minus 6 equals x. Combining like terms right here, okay, these can be put together, and you know what, while we're at it, these can be put together. So I will have 1/4 x squared. Now negative 1/2 minus 1/2. Alright, I know that this is negative 1/2, but if you have any trouble with that, use your calculator. So negative 1/2 minus 1/2. Okay, that's negative 1. So this would make negative 1x. Okay, and of course I won't really put the 1. We'll just go negative x, but same thing. Positive 1 minus 6, that's negative 5, is equal to x. Now you see we have these x's on both sides, so let's get those together by subtracting x from both sides. Kabam. Alright, so this is like negative 1 and negative 1, so that's negative 2. So I've got 1/4 x squared minus 2x minus 5 is equal to 0. Now it's time to get rid of this fraction, which has been bothering me the whole time. And we can get rid of it by multiplying through by 4. Okay, you have to multiply everything though, otherwise you're changing the value and the balance of the equation. Okay, everything is multiplied. Here they cancel out. So if I've got x squared, now I've got negative 8x, and I've got minus 20. 0 times 4 is still 0. So with any luck, this will factor. Let's give it a shot. Okay, as I'm looking at the 20, I'm thinking things like 4 times 5. What else? I guess that's 2 times 10, and then 1 times 20. Okay, looking at a middle of negative 8, my favorite is 2 times 10. X squared can only be x times x. If we go with 2 times 10, now inner I've got 2x, outer I've got 10x. What would the signs need to be to make negative 8? Well, if I have a positive 2 and a negative 10, that would make negative 8. So there's my positive 2 and there's my negative 10. So this is looking good, good, good. Also, a positive times a negative is a negative 20, so that's great. So we factored it correctly. Now we will set these factors equal to 0. So x plus 2 equals 0, and x minus 10 equals 0. Subtracting 2 and adding 10 to both sides gives us x equals negative 2 and x equals positive 10. Now, these are the x values, but we still need the y values that go with this. So what we'll do is we'll make our table of values like we do. Okay, so we have our negative 2 and our 10. Now we need the y values that go with them. So let's look back and see if we can get a y value machine going. Well, here it is. Here's our y value machine. Y equals 1/2 x minus 1. Let's just copy that down. Okay, so y equals 1/2 x minus 1. So that means right here we have y equals 1/2 times negative 2 minus 1. Okay, now most of you should be using your calculator. Alright, I applaud you if you can do this by yourself, and you should be able to do this by yourself. But the reality is many of you make careless mistakes. So even if you think you can do it on your own, double check using a calculator. How about we put it that way? So 1/2 times negative 2 minus 1. Okay, so that is negative 2. Alright, now for this one, that's going to be y equals 1/2 times 10 minus 1. Somehow I have more faith that you can do this one on your own. Half of 10 is 5. 5 minus 1 is 4. Okay, so these are our two solutions. We've got negative 2 comma negative 2 and 10 comma 4. Let's put a box around that. Okay, that is how you do that. That was number 2. Alright, let's move on to number 3. Alright, once again we have to do this algebraically. The last one we did it by substitution. This one is a good one to do by elimination method. See how these variables are the same. So if we can cancel these out, we'll have no more x's. So it's all about the elimination method for this problem. they both are already equal to 0, otherwise we'd have to move any constants over. So these are just ready to go. So I'm just going to set these equal to each other. So x squared minus 2x plus 2y plus 2 equals, now the other equation, x squared minus 2x plus y minus 3. Okay, they both equal 0, so they should equal each other. But anything that you see that's exactly the same on both sides, x squared, technically I'm subtracting x squared from both sides, but you know, they're gone. And here if I were to add 2x to both sides, same thing, they're gone. So anything else? No. So let's recopy what we have so far. So far I have 2y plus 2 equals y minus 3. Let's get these y's together by subtracting y from both sides. Okay, 2y minus 1y is just y. So I've got y plus 2 is equal to negative 3. Alright, to get y by itself, we will subtract 2 from both sides. So that's going to go ahead and give us y equals negative 5. Okay, so we've got our one solution there, y equals negative 5. Let's plug that back in and find the x that goes with it. So we make our short table of values, x and y. Okay, we only have the one y value, negative 5. So we need to use this to find the x value. So what we need to do is take this y value and plug it into one of these two equations. Doesn't really matter which. I'm going to use the bottom equation. Okay, so if I do that. Okay, so looking at the bottom equation here. Okay, then I'm going to have x squared minus 2x plus y, which is negative 5, minus 3 equals 0. So I'm just putting in negative 5 for y. And let's see what happens. So I've got x squared minus 2x. Negative 5 minus 3, that makes negative 8 equals 0. Okay, so maybe we can factor this. Let's give it a shot. So x squared can only be x times x. 8. Alright, looking at that 8, I'm thinking either 2 times 4 or 1 times 8. That's all I got. Let's go with the 2 times 4, looking at the middle of negative 2x. So 2 times 4. Now inner I have 2x, outer I have 4x. What do the signs need to be so I get a negative 2x middle? Well, if I had a positive 2x and a negative 4x, that would make negative 2x. So there's my positive 2 and there's my negative 4. Also, a positive 2 times a negative 4 does give me a negative 8. So that's great. To finish this off, let's go ahead and set both of these factors equal to 0. So I will do x plus 2 equals 0 and x minus 4 equals 0. Subtracting 2, adding the 4 gives me x equals negative 2 and x equals positive 4. Okay, well, what am I going to do with, I've got two x values. Alright, I've got negative 2 and 4, but only one y value. What am I going to do there? Yeah, it's the same y value. We used the same y value to get both of these x values. So we'll just double down on the y value and use it for both x values. And that will give us our two solutions. Okay, so we'll have negative 2 comma negative 5 and 4 comma negative 5. Alrighty then. That was number 3, I do believe. Yep. That's how you do that. Alright, let's find number 4. See what's going on. Alright, we have to write the standard form of the equation. We're supposed to figure out, is it a circle? If so, we'll write the center and the radius. Or is it a parabola, and we'll give the vertex. Well, we should know at a glance if this is a circle or a parabola. If it's a circle, then x's and y's will be squared. If only one variable is squared, then it's a parabola. So as you can see, only the x is squared. So this is a parabola, not a circle. A circle would look more like that. Okay, so fine, it's a parabola. Kabam. So we'll be identifying the vertex. Anyway, writing this in standard form, that's the form with the x minus h squared is equal to something times y minus k. Alright, this is the form that we're shooting for. That's going to require us to complete the square. So since the x's are squared, we'll leave the x's over here on the left. Since the y's are not squared, this is the stuff that must be over on the right. Okay, so with that in mind, I will get rid of these by doing the opposite. So I'm going to subtract 12y from both sides and add 56. Subtract 12y, add 56. That way these are gone. So when I recopy, right, I'm going to have x squared plus 4x, leave a space to complete the square, and that's going to equal that negative 12y plus 56 over there. Now, time to complete the square. So half the middle squared. Half of this is 2. 2 squared is 4. Okay, do not forget to add that 4 to both sides. Common mistake will mess you up if you don't add the 4 to both sides. Alright, when you complete the square, you will always be able to factor it as the same thing twice. Okay, the sign comes from the middle term here, so this will be plus, and then 4 is 2 times 2. Meanwhile, over here I've got negative 12y plus 60. Okay, this I can make it look like this because there's 2 of them. I can write x plus 2 squared. Now this, I can factor out that number in the front. Okay, negative 12 comes out here. Now remember, this is, when I factor this out, I am dividing to get what goes on the inside. So these would cancel and just leave y. But positive 60 divided by negative 12 is negative 5. And you can mentally double check it using the distributive property. Negative 12 times y is negative 12y. Negative times a negative is a positive 60. So it makes sense. Anyway, we have arrived. Okay, this is the standard form for a parabola, so I can just put a box around that. The vertex is going to be the opposite of this and the opposite of that. Alright, do they give us some line to put the vertex? Yeah, so it's going to be negative 2 comma positive 5. Alright, that's it. That's how you do that. Alright, that was number 4. Is number 5 on the same page? No. Okay, let's go find number 5. Alright, looks like number 5 is more of the same. Let's see. So write this in standard form, decide is it a circle or what. Okay, first of all, is this a circle or a parabola? Yeah, it's a circle. You can tell because the x's and y's are both squared. Okay, so the standard form for a circle looks like this. It's like x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to the radius squared. So because we have two variables that are squared, we are going to have to complete the square twice to make that happen. But this 4 doesn't belong, so we're going to move that. So let's definitely subtract 4 from both sides. Okay, so that's gone. Now let's group together the x's. So these belong together, and then these y's belong together. So I'm going to have, let's see, can I give myself a little more space? I'm going to have x squared, and then plus 4x. Alright, leave a space to complete the square. And then I'll have y squared, and then minus 8y. Leave a space to complete the square. And then we move this 4 over, so I've got this equals -4. Now let us complete the square. So half the middle squared, half of this is 2, 2 squared is 4. Make sure you add it to both sides. Half of this is 4, 4 squared is 16. Add it to both sides, please. Okay, now, anytime we complete the square, it means this will factor as the same thing twice. So this is going to make x plus 2 times x plus 2. This is going to make y minus 4 times y minus 4. Notice that the sign of the middle term tells you the sign of the parentheses. This is positive, so both of these will be positive. Don't look at the 4 and the 16, they're always positive. Meanwhile, over here, the -4 and +4 cancel out, so I just have 16. Okay, and of course I could rewrite this as x plus 2 squared plus y minus 4 squared equals 16. So this is the standard form we were shooting for. You know what, did they have a line for that too? They did. I should have done that on the other problem. So plus 2 minus 4. What was that, 16? Let me check. Yeah. Alright, so the center will be the opposite of this and the opposite of that. So that'll be -2, comma, +4. The radius, well, this is the radius squared. That means the radius must be 4. Okay, and that is it for number 5. I'm just going to copy this here. Alright, number 6. Create an equation for a circle whose center is -7, 9, and whose radius is 3 radical 5. Well, just from the center alone, we can write the entire left side of the equation. So that's going to be opposite of this, so that'll be x plus 7 squared. And the opposite of that, so that'll be y minus 9 squared. Okay, all we need is this right here. All we need is the radius, so I can square it. And then I'll be done. Wow, they gave us the radius, so that's easy. So if the radius is 3 radical 5, then all I have to do is square it. Alright, basically if I square both of these, alright, then the radius squared will equal 3 radical 5 squared. Now I can do this in my head. Okay, it's going to be 45, but you should use a calculator. So I've got 3 radical 5. Please make sure you use parentheses. Squared. So that's going to be 45. And that is it. Okay, if anybody's wondering how I did that in my head, then all I did was I did 3 squared and then radical 5 squared. 3 squared is 9. When you square a radical, the radical goes away. So it's just 9 times 5, and that's how I knew it was 45. Okay, anyway, that was number 6. Number 7. write the standard form of the parabola graphed below. Okay, we're supposed to look at this graph and write the equation of it. Well, let's see. From this graph, we can tell a bunch of things. For one thing, we can see the vertex is right here. So the vertex is the point 5, comma, -4. Okay, so that's going to give us our h and k, if you will. Alright, maybe I should label that. So this is our h and our k. Now, we always need to know which version of the parabola model we will use, the one with the x squared or the one with the y squared. But we can tell that this is sideways, spacing to the right. So that tells us that we need to use the y squared model. So our model is going to be y minus k squared is equal to 4p times x minus h. Okay? So, since we know our h and k, we can write most of the equation right now. Yeah, we know the h and the k. So just remember that the x value has to show up in the x part of the equation, and the y value has to show up with the y part of the equation. So this is going to be like y minus okay, the k. This is negative, so we do the opposite. So I will put a plus 4 in there. And now I've got 4p, and it'll be x minus 5. This is positive, so here we go, negative. So this is most of the equation. If only we had the p-value. Well, we can read the p-value right off the graph as well. And the p-value is right here. It's this distance from the vertex to the focus. Whoa, why did it bend like that? I didn't like that. Let me try that again. P-value. Well, that is weird. It's going to do that every time. I don't have time to mess with it. Okay, so this tells us that the p-value is 2. By the way, it's positive 2 because it's going to the right. If it were going to the left or down, it would be negative. So anyway, we know that the p-value is 2. So that makes this become y plus 4 squared equals 4 times 2 times x minus 5. So now we can go ahead and write the final equation. Okay, so that's going to be y plus 4 squared is equal to 8 times x minus 5. And there it is. Alright, that was number 7. Let's find number 8. Okay, sketch the given characteristics and use the information to write the standard form of the parabola. So we have to write another equation, but this time we have to make our own sketch. That's fine, we're not scared. Or are we? Let's see. So here comes our sketch. Alright, so here's our y-axis and here is our x-axis. Okay, our vertex is at 5, comma, -1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and -1. Okay, so here is our vertex. Our focus is at 5, comma, 2. Okay, so this is at 5, and then so 1, 2. Okay, that tells us a bunch of things. First of all, that tells us that the parabola is facing up, all right, because it's going to be wrapped around this point, the focus. So this is going to be an upward facing parabola, and which right away tells me that I need the x squared version of the parabola equation. So it tells me I'm dealing with x minus h squared is equal to 4p times y minus k. I'm dealing with this version. They gave us the vertex though, so they gave us the h and the k. So if I plug those in where they go, okay, right here and right there, that's going to give us, okay, this is positive, so I'll just stick with x minus 5 squared is equal to 4 times p. Alright, and then I've got y. K is negative, so I'm going to go positive here. So y plus 1. Now all I need is the p value. But check it out, the p value is also shown in the our little sketch, because the p value is the distance between the focus and the vertex. And look, this is down 1, this is up 2. That's a total of 3. Okay, that tells me that p is equal to 3. By the way, it's a positive 3 because it's upward facing. If this had been facing down, then it would be a negative 3. Okay, anyway, p is 3, so I can put that into my equation, and then that allows me to write the final answer. So I will have x minus 5 squared is equal to 12 times y plus 1. Okay, so that's great. Let's do that again for number 9. Same concept. So once again, let's get our graph going. Okay, so this is our x-axis, and that's our y-axis. So this time we're not given the vertex, so we'll have to work a little bit harder. But we have the focus, which is at negative 4, comma 2. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's negative 4, comma 2. So 1, 2. Alright, I always do my focus in green for some reason. So there's my focus. Okay, now the directrix is x equals 6. You have to know that x equals a number is always a vertical line. Alright, if it was y equals, it would be horizontal, but it's got to be a vertical line at 6. So, alright, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright, so here is my directrix. Okay, now already that tells me that this parabola is facing to the left, because it's got to wrap around this focus, okay, and go away from the directrix. But also I can use this to figure out exactly where the vertex is. The vertex should be right in the middle between the focus and the directrix. You can see that from negative 4 to positive 6, they are 10 apart. So if I go 5, that should put me right in the middle. So that puts the vertex right here, and my vertex is the point 1, comma 2. Okay, that's crucial. And from there, I know that's going to go to the left, like I said. So this is what's happening. So now I have enough information to write the equation. Because it's sideways, I know it's going to be the version of the model that has y squared. So this is like y minus k squared is equal to 4p times x minus h not squared. Now that we have the vertex, we have our h and our k. So make sure that the x value winds up here with the x, and the y value winds up here with the y. Okay, so that 2 is going to be here. So this will be y minus 2 squared. Okay, I'm just going to leave an empty spot for the p. That's coming in a second. And then x minus h. So that's the 1. So that's going to be x minus 1. Just again do the opposite. These are both positive, so I wind up doing minus for both. Now the p. Once again, I should be able to look right here and see the p. Okay, because the p is the space from the vertex to the focus. Now, because it's to the left, I also know it's going to be negative. But like we said before, it's 5. So p is negative 5. So I can also put that into the equation. And that will give me the final answer. So my equation is going to be y minus 2 squared is equal to negative 20 times x minus 1. So keep an eye on this negative sign. You know if it goes to the left, it should be negative. So even if you forgot to make p negative, and let's say if you thought 5, and you got a positive 20, now you know a positive number is not going to make it go to the left. So just stick that negative on there so it goes the way that you know it should go. Alright, that was number 9. Where is number 10? Is there a number 10? Okay, I guess that is it for this lesson. Okay, that's it for part 1 of the review. Part 2 is coming. That's going to be the homework video. So check that out. Again, guys, please, please, please make sure that you can do every problem on this sheet by yourself. The blank version will be on Edmodo, so you can print it out and redo it as many times as you have to do to make sure you can do them all by yourself. Don't be a fool, especially if you failed the last test. Come on, time to learn from your mistakes.